So, hi everybody. I've just jumped in at the last minute here, a bit frantic, but very, very excited to talk to Burton C. Bell tonight. Burton and I know each other. We've met a couple of times, been on shared stages together, and I'm really looking forward to asking you a few questions. More like a chat rather than interrogation. I hope that's okay.
Quite all right with me. I love a good chat.
Okay. Okay. So first of all, I'm always interested in what kind of shapes the people, what shapes the man, the artist as you are now. So how old were you when you first started playing music and getting into music?
Well, I mean, God, music has been a part of my life from my earliest memories. My parents were always listening to music. My dad was like into classical and country. My mom was a violinist, so she
Okay.
was always either playing violin or piano.
Okay.
My first earliest memory actually performing was I was 7 or 8 in a church choir. I was also performing in elementary school here
Mhm.
as a in the school choir. So I
Mhm.
got my taste for being on stage early on, at least like
Right.
9, 10 years old, and it was always something I was into. But I never really played any instrument. I just always I always had the urge to be on stage. I always wanted to sing, and
That's interesting. I was going to ask you that. I was going to ask if it was as a singer or as an instrumentalist. So you started as a singer. You were there. You were there in the choir.
yeah, I was in the choir, but I've never been classically trained or trained at all. It's just
Mm.
something that comes naturally, and I guess I'm a natural tenor,
Mhm.
but it's something that I always lean towards. And when I moved to California, I was just working around trying to, I was interested in getting in a band, and it wasn't until a friend of mine that I knew handed me a flyer, say, "Hey, why don't you try out for my band?" And that I was like, "Okay, let's try it." And that was the first band I was in.
Wow, interesting. So when you
Got my
were a kid,
taste.
interesting. So when you were a kid, well, you had there were live acoustic instruments in the family. There was music all around you. Do you remember that being because lots of kids at that age are just into here like kind of soccer or whatever. But do you remember those live instruments giving you pleasure when you were a young boy?
Oh yeah, I would. Even though I didn't know how to play guitar, I'd pick up my dad's acoustic guitar and just mess with
Mm,
it. Just,
mm,
hit strings or strum or whatever.
mm,
But I had more fun sitting down at a piano and
mhm,
just tapping keys, just hitting notes and just like finding chords and stuff that I liked. And
mm,
still, I didn't know how to play piano, but I would just just like hit notes. And I was like, oh, this sounds cool.
mm,
And so I always had a piano in the house. My mom still has a piano in the house.
mhm,
So it's I was I was always drawn to music. I was always drawn
mm.
to the sounds, and either it be live instrument like acoustic instruments, or hearing music at a concert, going to concerts with my mom or my dad or whoever. Just
And who were the concerts you went to see?
oh well, going to concerts with my parents, it was like it was either classical concerts like symphonies or
Mm,
orchestra stuff, or a
mm,
couple of country bands that my dad was into.
mm.
But the first concert I paid a ticket to go see I was living in Houston, and it was Air Supply.
Okay.
And I was what, 11.
Yeah.
But the second concert I paid to go see, I was vacationing in New York City, and I went to go see the Fix opening up for A Flock of Seagulls,
Wow. Okay.
Radio City Music Hall.
Wow.
So I think I redeemed I still love that Air Supply music, but I
Yeah.
redeemed myself because I was a huge fan of the Fix. Still
Yeah.
am. That
Yeah.
Reach the Beast record is still amazing.
It's funny that stuff though, when the stuff you start listening to, which might not be considered as cool, but then you get older and other musicians go, "Hey, that's great." don't they? I remember when I was a kid in primary school, I wasn't really into, I got to primary school and I was terrified. I wasn't really into music. And then a kid I really liked said, "Do you like music?" And I knew I had to say yes. So I said yes. And he said, "Who do you listen to?" And the only band I'd heard of on like Top of the Pops in the UK was Slade. So I thought, shit, I'd better go and buy some Slade singles. So I did, and loved them, loved them. So when I got
Right.
older and people said to me, who's your favorite bass player? There's the obvious ones I want to say, like Andy Fraser and Jean-Jacques Burnel. But nowadays I say, you know what? It's Jim Lee from Slade. That they were a fantastic band, and I'm not embarrassed about it anymore. You're probably the same with Air Supply, I guess.
Exactly. I mean, Air Supply, they wrote some good songs and
Yeah,
great production. It was like,
yeah,
wow. If
yeah,
you
yeah.
could emulate that kind of production today, it was like, wow, it'd be incredible if you could make that happen. But
Totally.
they wrote some good songs, and I like it. I will still
Yeah, yeah.
listen to them.
Yeah, yeah. So what? So who were your as as a singer? Who were your earliest influences?
Elvis.
Great.
Elvis is a big influence. I remember the day he died. I was a fan before he died, so that was the first record I bought was an Elvis record.
Uh-huh.
So Elvis was a big influence. But my taste in music was like evolved through like AM radio.
Hmm.
So whatever was coming out through that, I was like, oh, that sounds good. So I like the Bee Gees. They
Great.
were great.
Great.
Um, Christopher Cross had a lot of, Ride Like the Wind is still a great record. But
Hmm.
when I finally started understanding music and started really following my bands that would actually go out and buy records, it's kind of like all over the spectrum.
Hmm.
Depending on what the mood I was in, I loved Bruce Dickinson.
Hmm.
I love Billy Idol. Billy Idol was a huge influence for me when I was in high school. It's like
Hmm.
that Rebel Yell record just blew me away.
Hmm.
And then because of that, I got into Generation X,
Okay.
moving backwards. So Billy Idol, and then I heard the War album by U2, and then that kind of changed my game. Bono was
Yeah,
like,
great
whoa.
record.
Yeah, Bono's voice was just like
Yeah.
that was like a whole nother level of something I couldn't understand. I was like, that's
Yeah.
pretty amazing. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
and then I, there's David Bowie always had some cool songs that resonated with me.
Hmm.
And then as you get older, you start resonating even closer.
Hmm.
For instance, Wayne Hussey,
Okay.
the was the first like three releases. First Chapter, which
Hmm.
was all covers, and then God's Own Medicine,
Hmm.
and then what was after that? That was a Tower. What was the Tower of Strength album?
Hmm.
Was that the Tower of Strength?
Yeah,
No.
yeah, yeah. Children, I guess. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah.
So Wayne
Yeah.
Hussey, and then Andrew Eldritch, and I was a huge fan
Yeah.
of Colin McCoy and Fields of the Nephilim.
Okay.
I'm still a big fan of what's his name? Sullivan from New Model Army.
Oh, Justin Sullivan.
Justin Sullivan from New Model
I
Army.
Yeah, I used to love New Model Army. There was a period I had a girlfriend in Spain, and I was going back and forth to Spain a lot, and I used to listen to New Model Army to death. Whenever I go to Spain, I can hear those songs over and over in my head. They were brilliant, weren't they?
Brilliant. And then I got into Nick Cave. Nick Cave
Okay.
when he released Tender Prey. I was like,
Okay.
here we go. I was like, wow, this guy's
Yeah.
telling a story, and he's aggressive. And then
Yeah.
so you get into Nick Cave and you go backwards to like the birthday party
Yeah.
and all
Yeah.
that stuff. I'm like, oh my god. And so I
Yeah.
just kind of really resonate. I really the vocalists really resonated with me. I love music in general, but it was
Yeah.
like vocalists that really were unique and passionate
Yeah.
and just like told a story.
Yeah.
And just didn't do things that were so like typical of what was popular on the radio or something. So
Yeah.
all those vocalists was just like really inspirational.
Yeah, I get it totally. So, do you think that being a musician, an artist, affects how you see the world? Has that affected how you see life?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I feel I've been an artist my entire life.
Hmm.
And I've always looked at the world in a different perspective than most people do.
Mm.
I see things differently, and I think I listen to music differently because I'm listening to more. I'm listening to different things than most people are. So it, it really, yeah, being an artist has affected my life. It's directed my life. It has been a huge, how would you say, a huge force in my
Mm.
entire existence.
Mm. Mm.
And because of it, I follow my heart more so than most people do because I trust in it. And even though it might steer me in ways that I'm not really comfortable with, I'm like, well, here we go.
Yeah,
I'm like, I'm just gonna
that's
go
right.
with it.
That's right. We interviewed John Joseph from Cro-Mags a few months ago. He said something interesting. I remember he said that all through his life, music had been it was his grounding force, and he referred to music as his church.
Yeah. Yeah. I've always said that, wherever I've played has been the church I've been at that night.
Mm.
Or whatever concert I'm going to is my church. It's like because I am experiencing, I'm not just listening, I'm experiencing, I am becoming part of the music because we are all vibrational beings and have a different resonance within ourselves that you latch onto, that you really resonate with. And so
Mm.
me, if the way I listen to music, I am becoming part of the music and
Mm.
I'm making it, letting it flow through me and feeling it. I will close my eyes at a concert and just listen
Mm.
because more
Yeah,
than watch it because I don't really have to see them play. I just have to feel it.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And you do other things as well aside from music, don't you? There are other areas of art that you enjoy as well, aren't there?
Yeah, I do photography was one of my
Yes.
first loves. I still do that.
Yeah.
And writing is another something that I've always been attracted to. I've been writing, God, as long as I can remember. I've had a journal as long as I can remember.
Okay.
And it's been part of writing has been a part of my career as well. Not just
Okay.
lyrics, but stories that goes along with the albums. Sometimes they're a concept record, or sometimes it's just I like to write more to add to an album, or just to just people in general. I just like I like to writing is something that's part of me, and
And
so that's
so right. So
so
and
lyrically, so that's like one thing I'm listening to is lyrics. If the music can be great or whatever, but if the lyrics are stupid, I'm like, eh. It's like
yeah.
it's not.
Are are you writing a book at the moment?
I've been writing a lot for a book to compile everything, and it's just a bunch of stories from memory, things that have been really not necessarily about the band, but things that happened while I was in the band or before the band. Just like, a lot of interesting stories that have shaped my life and not really a moral, but something that has been a direct impact and something I would do later.
Okay.
Right now, right now the title I have for it is Random Access Memories, RAM. It kind of fits into my aesthetic of man machine kind of thing.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Mm. So, so listening to that, so I've seen some of your photography as well. I can tell you take that seriously. So you would probably feel you're an artist rather than just a musician or a photographer or a writer, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. I've always considered myself an artist. Even
Mm.
before I was in a band. I mean, I got I was accepted into art school in Washington
Okay.
D.C. on a scholarship,
Okay.
the Corcoran School of Art, and that's where I went for a year and a half before typical, I dropped out of art school. And uh, there in art school, I majored in photography and creative writing.
Okay.
So that's
Okay.
what I was focusing on. And I listened to some advice that listened to some advice that didn't really work for me, and so it changed my path and made me very unhappy. And that's why
What was that advice?
the advice was like you should you should study something that you can have a job in later on in life. So I changed my major from fine arts to graphic design,
Okay.
and I hated graphic design. I just felt it wasn't for me at the time. It just felt too much. It felt too rigid,
Okay.
and it just wasn't for me. So I just, instead of switching back, I was like, I was enjoying my life. I was working at a record store. I was going out to concerts. I was hanging out at a nightclub all the time. I was working at that record store. So music became a big part of my life, and my nightlife became a big part of my life. So just like, hey, dropped out, and 6 months later, I moved to California.
Okay. So what part of being an artist do you enjoy most?
Oh, wow, that's an interesting question. It's all about the process of creation.
Mm,
Um,
mm,
putting words down on paper, and as you're like, if I'm starting to write lyrics, how the words find themselves, how they start fitting together, and it's almost like a puzzle piece when it's putting it to the music that I'm working on, because
mm,
a lot of the times what I write doesn't really translate to what I'm putting in music, so I'm having to like rearrange words,
mm,
but keeping the whole process is keeping the same point that I'm trying to make
mm.
by using whatever I can. And the words are big to me. The words are beautiful, and that's how they're important to me, because when I am as an artist, I just don't want to just like say it. I want to feel it. I want to express it. To me, that's what expressing. And we go back to what is important about being an artist is expression, create creation and expression through your soul and through your passion. And if you can make that, if you can create uh, it, a concrete physical piece or something that someone can hear or listen to or see,
Mm,
and someone can relate to it, it's like, wow,
mm,
that's beautiful. Or like, oh, I get it. It's like,
mm.
I think that in itself is a bit of a successful piece of art. It's like someone can get one person can understand it, then I've succeeded.
Yeah, I totally agree. For everybody I've asked that question to, they always say that the fame doesn't matter, that the success doesn't matter. They cite two things. They cite their family and they cite creativity.
Yeah, creativity to me,
Mm,
like the process of creation is like it's an addiction.
yeah,
It's like hits of dopamine. You're like, oh my god, I love
yeah,
that feeling. Like I'm with the band and we're having a breakthrough of this song. You're like, oh my god, this is sounding amazing,
mm,
and everyone's feeling the excitement. There's
mm,
nothing else like it. And
yeah,
when you'll
that's
will
right.
never have that moment again on that particular element, whatever you're working on. You'll never have that moment again. But it's
Yeah,
so exciting, and it brings everyone together because you're all feeling
yeah,
it at the same time.
yeah, yeah. I love that. So you said that so your art, your music, your photography, your writing affect how you see life. Um, how do you feel about the world at the moment?
Oh, oh my god, it's frustrating, and it's nerve wracking, and it's scary, and it's quite unbelievable, because I mean it's unbelievable, but I it's weird, but I saw this coming. If it makes any sense, it's like what I've written about over the past few couple decades. I was like, wow, if you just see what's happening in the world, everything I've been writing about is just coming to this point. I'm like, yeah, the signs were there. If you just open your eyes and you just be an observer of the world and watch what's happening, you can see the clues of what's about what's to take place. It's not like a secret. It's like you can see the hints if you're paying attention.
So, such as what?
Just how people react. For instance, 9/11. Not necessarily the actual disaster or tragedy of it, but what happened afterwards.
Okay.
About people's rights being taken away, about authority, about how authority figures are taking measures into their own hands. I've been saying, you can see it's almost like things, you can see moments happen. It's the effects that happen afterwards that you should pay attention to, not the actual catastrophe. And it's how people react to the catastrophes that you should pay attention to.
Yeah, I get it. Yeah, I get it. And what about
right now? I mean, people poo-poo me, but I think America's gonna be in martial law is gonna be instilled in the next 6 months.
I wouldn't poo-poo that. I think
People say,
I think nothing's off the table, is it?
Like, oh, that'll never happen. I'm like, yeah, it'll never happen, but prove me wrong. If it happens, you'll say, oh shit, if only someone said that was coming. I'm like, well,
when I remember when I was younger in bands, when I was kind of starting out, and I remember in Europe we would look at Italy. Italy had a prime minister called Silvio Berlusconi, and he was kind of like a playboy character, and he owned a football club, and there was so much corruption. And I always thought if I was prime minister, I'd be like him, like totally unserious. But I remember thinking, God, I wonder what it's like to live under governance like that. And of course, now we know, we had that, and it's kind of terrifying. But what about? I mean, I say this every week. I blame social media for a lot of this stuff as well, about how polarized we are. And but how do you feel about social media?
Well, I'm not a big fan of it. It's an unnecessary evil. Unfortunately, being an artist, because it's the only way we have to promote ourselves, especially if you're an independent artist. And that's the way of the world. That's the way the industry has moved towards. It's like social media, because that's where everybody is. But I would go one step further, because social media is just a small generalization. Everything was ruined on the onset of the internet. I think the internet ruined everything. And it ruined the music industry. It's ruined the publication industries. It's ruined the media industries. It's just like it was the internet that just, sure, we got everything in our hands, but now everyone's got it. And just because everyone's got it, everyone's opinion is out there. It's like a wildfire that you cannot control. It's just burning the entire world.
Yeah, I mean, I hope. I mean, I see my youngest son is 16, and I see the way he and his friends use the internet, and they don't use social media. They just think it's a really uncool thing that old people do. And I see the way that they dismiss a lot of social media, and that gives me some hope, to be honest, that they see it almost in the same way as they don't really drink. They look after their bodies, and it's almost as if they're thinking about they need to look after their minds as well. And I think some of the people I know who are most damaged by social media are over 50. So people warn us about the dangers of social media for kids. I think it's older people who need warning about it.
Well, I agree. I know people my age. I'm over 50 as well, so they have to literally force themselves to step away from it, because they're like losing their minds. And they go into that, what they call it, the death scroll. You just can't stop it. It's like it's an addiction. I get it. It's happened to me a couple of times, but you really got to step away and just understand that that's not reality. It really is not. And once you realize that's not reality, you just have to understand, it's like, use it as a tool that you can. And that's what I try to do. It's just like, it's the tool I have at my fingertips. that I can use to promote my art.
Mm.
And as long as that's all you use it for, then you'll be okay. But if you're like, I don't know, if you're trying to find a relationship, or you're trying to find, you know, if you're trying to find your own niche or your own tribe, that ain't gonna happen. You're not gonna find it there.
Yeah, interesting. Tony's normally got some great music, proper music questions. Tony, have you got some stuff you wanted to chip in with?
Yes, thank you, Richard. Well, I'm a huge fan of Burton C. Bell.
Thank you.
One of my not the first concert, but one of my first concerts. I was 14 or 15. It was in Houston, Texas, and I believe that Burton, you're from Houston, correct?
Yeah,
That's where you're born. All right, so we have that H Town connection, and you and Fear Factory, of course, your band, open for Iron Maiden, right?
Yeah.
And I remember that show like it was yesterday. I even told Richard several times about this particular show, because I was so close to you guys. It was sweat would just come out, and it was unbelievable. But
Typical metal show.
yeah, I and it was also my first Iron Maiden. I know it wasn't my first Iron Maiden, but the first time I saw them, the Almighty were opening at Monsters of Rock, and Richard, I think,
Runington.
yes, but I saw them, yes, absolutely, in Donington, and I was about a mile away from the stage. I could not see anything, so to have all Iron Maiden except for Bruce right there up front, right, it was unbelievable. But when I left the show, the only thing that I could think about was Fear Factory. That sound was revolutionary. You guys created a new sound, heavy, but at the same time with keyboards, and I loved it. I had all the essence of music that I liked. And can you tell us a little bit about what was going through your head about touring with Iron Maiden? I believe it was their first club tour of the U.S. and how yeah, ever, I think. Yes, please
Yeah,
tell us, because that was
that
an
was
interesting story.
a great tour. It was their first club tour ever in the States, mostly because they had a new singer. It was Blaze Bailey from Wolfsbane doing the vocals, because they just released that Factor X record that they were on support for. But I was an Iron Maiden fan as well. Back in high school, and my favorite Maiden record is Number of the Beast, of course. But they all the guys were great. Um, they were they were hanging out on stage and walk around, they all smiling, having a great time. They were just really personable people, and but it was really, I think it was really getting to them. The clubs were like small. Like, for instance, we played in Seattle, the off ramp, which is now called the El Corazon. The off ramp was so small that Nico McBrain's drum set took up the entire stage. And so we had to set up around his stage, and I just had to stand on the barricade, which the stage was only 2 feet tall already. The barricade was taller than that, so I just stepped through the barricade and was just standing there the whole show. They were great. Was that show that it was that show that their tour manager had a heart attack, because it was just like it was there was just too much going on. I think it was the logistics of everything, but it was funny. We had just done a tour with Megadeth, and we went to Iron Maiden. One of the first shows we did was in Utah at a Salt Air Amphitheater that was on that dry, dead lake bed. And all the guys, are standing on stage watching us perform, and it's like, oh, I'm gonna get a shout out. So every, I go, everyone give it up for Megadeth, and like all I see is just the Dave Murray and the bass player, what's his name, Steve Harris, just like laughing their asses off at me. I'm like, oh, wrong band. So, but they were super cool. And yeah, it was a great tour. I think it was great for Fear Factory. It gave us everything we wanted, and I got to see them. They let us use their gear, like their PA. They had their classic '70s PA that was just like thousands of watts of energy just coming through. So that was fantastic. But I've had the opportunity to tour with a lot of great bands, like Megadeth for one. But we did Fear Factory did Ozzy's Retirement Sucks tour back in, was it '96? And he was like, okay, he had retired and then he came back and he was playing small theaters. So Fear Factory was the only band opening in America and in Europe. And we were just playing small theaters, opening up for Ozzy all for like 3 months. It was fantastic.
Mm.
Opening up for playing those like Donington and Rock and Ring, and I'm sure Richard's been to a few of those himself.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they're great. They're a good time. I did Reading once. I think I did the Reading Festival once, and that was cool. The Cult was there, so I got to meet Ian Astbury. That was fantastic. But I'm so grateful for every tour I've ever done, and I'm glad that Tony, you remember those times and the music that we put out, because it was, for us, it was like, okay, we're just emulating like the artists that we are trying to, that we love. I think we're just pushing the boundaries, and just what we did just made it even stronger. Push the boundaries. So like, what is these people doing? It's like, well, they're not doing anything really different. For me, like my vocals, I was emulating everyone that I ever liked. And even like the heavier guys like Michael Gira from Swans, or Justin Broderick from Godflesh, I would incorporate them, or Carl McCoy, how his voice was so low. Was those voices I was trying to emulate for the heavy stuff to make it happen. And Michael Gira would just, his projection was just, because I had seen him a few times live, and he's just like, he wasn't just like quiet in the microphone. He was like projecting. He didn't need a microphone. I'm like, that's how you do it. So you're just like, that's power, that's passion, and that's what resonated with me. So it's God, that was a tangent, wasn't it?
Yes, just real quick, because I know that you have to go, and Richard has some more questions to finish up. You were way ahead of your time. I mean, your style of singing, the clean and the dirty, right? I'm gonna speak in guitar terms. Then I don't know what the vocals terms are, but you created that screaming, and then the clean, and then you went back and you were doing that in '92 or maybe before.
Yes, '92. We started writing songs like that.
Right, and so how many singers have you influenced? You are the one who started that. It's unbelievable. I mean, I praise you for that, because from the Limp Bizkits to all these other people, you are the one who created that. I mean, Cold Chamber, all these other bands, they came way, way, way after you, and Korn. I mean, they all doing what you were doing years before, right?
Well, I appreciate that, but like I said, I was trying to emulate my favorite singers, and for instance, Richard will know this one, you will too, Tony. That my vocals are not too different from Jazz Coleman. From Killing Joke. He had like an aggressive nature, but he had a very melodic sense to it. I just kind of flipped it, where it was like, when there's a chorus, I'm just going to be like just a clean vocal, and just my heavy vocal is just going to be heavy. And I don't know how I was able to flip that live or even do that. It's just like something that switches on immediately right here. It's like, but people, when we were first touring in Europe, people were like, thought we had two singers. I'm like, no. It's like, oh, you can't do that live. I'm like, well, watch this. And it wasn't something it just came second nature. It wasn't something I thought about. It was just like, just did it because that's how we wrote it. I'm like, go on stage and you perform it like you wrote it. So you make it work. So, I've people said I've influenced a lot of vocalists, and sure, I think as part of my art, if I've influenced someone to be creative, to create themselves, then that in itself is a true victory in our art. I've succeeded as an artist to influence and inspire someone, and that's what art is all about, is inspiration, I think. And if you're not inspired by art, then that art's not for you. But if you are inspired by it, your actions and your creativity will reflect that.
Yeah, I'm so excited about what you have coming out, your new single, and your new music. Because first of all, and I don't care, we do this because we obviously Richard is a professional musician. I'm a big fan of music. I work in the music industry in the background, but without you, there's no Fear Factory. So we are huge. I mean, I'm a huge fan of you, and Richard likes your singing, and we were talking about it the other day. And when you are not there right now, and for me, that band does not exist. I wouldn't go, and I know a lot of people that agree with me. So I just want to put that out there.
And it was time for me to do other things, and here I am. I'm venturing out on my own is scary. Doing something solo is it's frightening. I'm like, am I doing the right thing? As artists, we always question ourselves. See voices in our head. There's voices in my head. There's like, oh my God, what the fuck are you doing? But I got to follow my heart, because my heart is directing me towards a path that I truly want to be in, and that's the artistic path. And failure is something that as artists we experience on a daily basis, but you just can't let that failure dictate your life. You have to learn from it, and once you learn from that, it's like, okay, I did that wrong, this time I'll try it this way. And so I am moving forward with my solo career, writing music that for me fits my mantra. I came up with a mantra maybe a couple of years ago that now that I have a band that I'm working with on a daily basis, they have grown to understand me as well. And so this next song I'm about to release, called Savages, on May 30th, we wrote together as a band. And it fits my mantra, which is heavy, groovy, dark, and moody. And I think that fits every aspect that I want to do. It fits the criteria of every band that I've ever liked. I think it fits the criteria of every band I've been a part of. So I'm taking it's like what I'm doing now is like an amalgamation of everything I've ever done. I'm taking it all, creating this nice little piece, and I'm releasing it, making it myself, making something new for myself. And I think when people hear this new song Savages, and the next song, which is called Cold Lazarus, they'll like, wow, that sounds familiar, but it's kind of new. So it's like, there you go, that's what we're doing. So I'm super excited about the future. I'm super excited about my tour coming up in June, going to Australia, and just very excited for what the future holds. Just gotta stay creative. That's what it's all about. Being an artist is being creative and creating art, whether it's writing, music, or photography. It's you're expressing yourself through your visions, and from what you see and how the world affects you.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you very much. And I look forward to your single. And Richard,
Yeah, that was that was great to listen to. I really enjoyed that, Tony and Burton. That was great. There's one thing you said, Burton. Art is about inspiring people. One of the things I found really frustrating over the last few years is about how, for some people, music and art seems to be about achieving something, and they measure their success by how much they're achieving, almost like how high their status is. And it seems to be that phrase you used, art is about inspiring people, is kind of getting lost somehow.
I would agree with that. We could go back to social media being a culprit of that mode of thinking. It's don't get me wrong. I think what we're talking about people are losing sight of what music and art is all about. That has been something that's been part of the industry for quite some time, but I think the saturation of it and just the amount of people that are affected by it has grown so exponentially because of social media that they are reaching towards likes more than they are reaching towards art.
Yeah,
and so I agree with you, Victor. They're losing sight of what it's really all about. And
yeah, I mean, I think there's kind of it's a strange thing, because there's a kind of a, when I watch you talking about creativity, and when I watch you talking about writing the songs, you become so animated, and the joy, it comes out of the camera. It's so clear, and there's kind of a joylessness about a lot of music at the moment, and I think it comes from that pressure to grow your Instagram page and to grow your Spotify followers, and that's all people post about. Whereas when you talk about your music, you can see, you become animated straight away, and it's nothing to do with that bloody promotion. It's to do with the creation.
right.
It's refreshing to see that.
Thank you for saying that, because a lot of people are losing sight of what it's all about. And the act of creating in a live aspect with other people, making something happen together versus like, I'm going to record a guitar part and then I'm going to send it to a guy across the world for his guitar part. No one is really coming together anymore to create. And I guess that's another part of it. But the idea is that people are just trying to create because what they think is success is not, to me, what art's all about.
I agree.
Yeah,
I agree. I've got just a couple of questions. It's kind of one big question, but it has two parts. So the first part is, what has been your biggest mistake in life? The second part is, what has been your best decision in life? So first of all, what do you think has been your biggest mistake?
Would it be weird if they were both the same thing?
It would be interesting. Go, tell me.
Signing the contract with Roadrunner.
Okay.
It was the biggest mistake in my life not to have another lawyer look at it, but it was the best thing that ever happened to me, because it propelled my career.
Oh, okay, interesting. And what is your what's your dream for your life ahead?
My dream is just to keep on creating, keep writing music, keep releasing music. I'm independent. I am not a signed artist, so as long as I can keep, but I have the ability to create, and that's what's important. So, my goal is just to keep being an artist, keep creating. But I want to put out a book. I want to put out another book, another photo book. I want to do that. I want to do another art series, a photo series. I have this crazy idea. I want to paint. So, I would love to take my photographs and create those into paintings inspired by my favorite artists. I love, Monet. I love Gerhard Richter. I love Lucian Freud.
Okay.
Would love to, take my photographs a step further.
Great.
So as an artist, we don't retire.
No.
We just keep creating.
That's right. That's been this has been such a pleasure. There's I won't name names, but I've worked with some people who were, apart from being friends and colleagues, I found them very impressive as artists. And one of the things I notice about people I believe who are genuinely great at what they do is they have a great humility about them, which lay people might be surprised by. But I think the more talented people I've worked with, the more humble they are, and they have the real humility. You have the same thing. There's a real humility when you speak, which is lovely to see. And again, it's the opposite of a lot of stuff I see on social media. So I've really enjoyed tonight. It's been a real pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you. I think it's, you have to be grateful for what you're given. You have to be grateful for the people that support you, and you have to be grateful for those who really are interested in your art. And to me, being grateful, being it's a very generic term to be grounded, because we're all grounded, but there are people whose egos get full control, and that's, once your ego takes control, then you're lost.
Yeah, I agree. That's great. I've really enjoyed that. Thank you so much, Burton. A real pleasure. So I'll see you again for 3 minutes in 10 years, right?
God, I hope it's sooner than that, my friend.
Me too. Pleasure. Thank you so much, Burton.
My pleasure, Richard. Tony, thank you so much. Speaking with you both has been a pleasure, and
thank you, Burton.
I would do this again in a heartbeat if you have me.
Love to.
Of course, we love to. Thank you, Burton, and we look forward to